What's up, guys? Welcome back to Marvel Madness episode 4. My name is Kyle. Hold on, guys. What did I just watch? What happened? Pain. Okay, guys, as I was saying, welcome back to Project Potter. Welcome back to Marvel Madness. Guys, my name is Kyle, your host. I'm trying to find the words here, guys. The best 30 to 33 minutes of television I've ever watched in my life. I don't know. We'll see how the review goes. If you guys haven't been here before, welcome to the channel. Appreciate you guys stopping by. This is our Marvel's What If in Review series, guys. So far, it has been kind of meh. I would say meh to good. Episode 4, dude, just blew it right out of the water. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to jump to the end here, guys, but some of the best MCU content, hands down, that I've seen in my life. And that includes all of the movies, all of the Disney Plus shows, some of the best content that they've ever made, maybe their best content. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we got the Doctor Strange shirt here. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. If you do like this content, I appreciate you guys. Consider liking, commenting, subscribing, smashing that like button, dude. Just kidding, but seriously, it would be helpful for me. But yeah, guys, really quick, if you haven't seen the show before, we do a rambling recap where we kind of just quickly go over this one, and the plot is pretty straightforward for this one, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. We do a strongest character, a weakest character of the episode, and then they score out of 10, guys. So let's begin with, it's supposed to be a drum roll, can't do a drum roll sound. The rambling recap, guys. So this one, all about Doctor Strange. What's really great about this episode is that they got the voice actor for Wong back. They got the voice actor for Christine as Rachel McAdams. They got Benedict Cumberbatch to do Doctor Strange, and that's why I think this fits in so nicely with the MCU. This is the closest thing that felt canon to the MCU as opposed to just like a fun little filler story, because they got all of the actors back. And Doctor Strange, right here, guys, I think I rated it number 3 on my final rankings. One of the best movies, I think criminally underrated in the MCU, dude. This just proves that Doctor Strange and Stephen Strange is an awesome, amazing character. Yeah, guys, kicking off with the recap, the whole premise of this episode, it starts off with Doctor Strange waiting outside the car, and Christine shows up, played by the lovely and beautiful Rachel McAdams. So always great to have her back. We haven't had her, I think, since she was in Doctor Strange. I don't know if she was in Endgame or anything. I don't know. I gotta look that up. But she's back to voice Christine, and it's really sweet because we had that fun, like, flirty vibe in Doctor Strange where. Spoilers, guys, if you've seen Doctor Strange, or if you haven't seen Doctor Strange, I should say, the reason she leaves him initially is because he's just selfish, he's an asshole, and the famous car crash where he loses his hands, it's because he's like cockily? Anyway, he's being cocky, he's checking like the files of like, this is too easy, he's a back surgeon or a spinal surgeon, and he's like one of the best. He's like known for his hands where he's like playing music and shit. He's very selfish and very self-centered in Doctor Strange, and then he gets in that horrible car accident where his hands are like that scene where his hands are up with the needles or whatever, and then the first thing he says is like, "What have you done? You've ruined me. I could have done better." He's selfish to Christine, so even though they have sort of a love-ish connection in Doctor Strange, he's not very good to her, and then he appreciates her, but this is great because they're like genuinely getting along, and Doctor Strange seems like a really good dude and not as self-centered. And she comes out in a dress, and she says he did some kind of crazy surgery, and she's like, "We should be celebrating." He's like, "That's pretty remarkable," and he's like, "I think you're pretty remarkable." And I was like, "Oh, this is so nice, dude, to see them like interact." And so they're heading there, and we get on the scene, or we get on the highway or the bridge scene where he's behind a truck, and he goes to like pass the truck there, and then another car's coming, and we see him, our car's coming head on, and he like nearly gets out of the way, and like, whew, they're out of the danger. No, there's a speeding car that comes over, smashes into their car, they go over, Doctor Strange is fine, but Christine dies, and it's super sad. And so he's like, no, and he goes through all this pain. And then he becomes Doctor Strange. We know that how that works out. We get a Dormammu scene again, dude, and he's come to bargain again, dude. And I'm like, it's so good to just see all that. This all looks beautiful. Animation in this show was like made for this episode, I swear. So we basically get like a soft recap of like Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme comes over. And all that stuff. You guys have seen the movie. Amazing movie, dude. Amazing visuals. Same thing in this episode. So he's hanging out with Wong at the Sanctorium. Is that how you say it? I don't know. If not, I'll edit it in. And it's a beautiful shot with the eye or the window there, and it's raining, of course, because it's raining in every sad scene in every movie and every TV show ever. It's a good effect though. And the rain's like reflecting off of Doctor Strange, and Wong is like, I have the kettle. It's like middle of the night, and Wong is like, I have the kettle going. He's like, I suggest you come over here before you do something you're going to regret. Obviously, that's going to happen. And so he's like, how long has it been anyway? And he says 2 years tonight. And Doctor Strange is really sad. And it's like, damn, dude, that sucks. But he's got the Eye of Agamotto, and he's learned time travel. We get that montage where he's like putting the apple back and forth. So, like they said, dude, Stephen Strange has become so powerful, becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, but he's still broken because he lost the love of his life. And so Wong is like, don't do anything you're going to regret. And of course we see him go, and he's like, oh, what if, he's like, time travel. He's like, what if we do this? And then so he's able to use the Eye of Agamotto where he like fucking zhoop, like opens that shit up. And then he gets back to the part where Christine comes out. Somehow he like masters it, so he goes exactly to that spot. Beginning of the episode where Christine comes out, it's like all blurry and it focuses on her, and he's like, hey, and he's like so happy to see her, and he's like he wasn't being like selfish the first time, but he was being a little like Doctor Strange in the movie that we know at the beginning, and he's like really happy to see her, and he's like, hey, he's like, let's go, and then she's like, wow, you're in such a chipper mood. She's like, what did I have to do to get this Doctor Strange or whatever? And he's like, oh, whatever. He's like, nothing, or he's like, I'm just enjoying your time. And so he gets to that scene on the highway where he gets behind the truck, and then he like goes to put his left directional on, but then he like knows that he's trying to avoid the car accident, so he puts his right directional on. I don't know why he didn't just stay behind the truck. The car like goes by them or whatever, and it's all good, or he like safely passes the truck, I forget, but basically he's like, we're good to go. Well, the car still fucking comes and hits him in the back, and he's like, no, not again, and he crashes, and he's like, I can't lose you again, and it's super fucking sad. But he rewinds it again. And then there's just this really sad montage where it's like, it's so obvious that we find out her death is an absolute point in time where Sorcerer Supreme eventually goes over and tells him like, she has to die because without her death, you don't become Doctor Strange, you don't go on the path, you don't bargain with Dormammu. She's like, all this shit has to happen, and she's like, there's different things in time that you can like kind of play with. She's like, this is an absolute point where she has to die no matter what. Because there's a super sad montage of like Doctor Strange trying all these different things where they like take a different route, and she's like, oh, you missed the turn that way. He's like, no, we're taking a detour. And then the car still hits them, and then like a different car obviously, and then there's like a scene where he's like, hey, like let's just get pizza, let's hang inside. It's so sad because he's trying like every single thing he do, and like this montage is so powerful because it's like, guys, imagine not only imagine that you're in the car with the love of your life, right? And you're driving, you have everything, and she dies in a car accident. Okay, super sad. The name of this, or the title of this episode is "What if Doctor Strange didn't lose his hand? He lost his heart." And we're like, oh man, what does that mean? And then I didn't even think about Christine dying, and I was like, oh dude, that's perfect. Because in the beginning episode, they show like her casket going down, and it's like, guys, imagine that the love of your life is in the car with you. You get in a car accident and she dies. You have to not only live that, you then become this super powerful sorcerer or whatever. So then you gain this magic ability. You gain the ability to time travel or to control time, and then you have the ability to go back to see her again, only to see her die over and over and over in all these different ways. And it's like, wow, dude, that is so depressing, and that's so messed up. Where it's like, man, it's like he wants to just spend eternity in that one moment, and it's so like heartbreaking to see him be like, no, let's just get pizza. Like she's like, what are you talking about? No, this is your night, we're gonna go out. And it's just like, basically, guys, the episode plays out, and then I don't know exactly how it happened, but he keeps trying to mess with time so much. Eventually I think Wong tells him like, look, you can't, that's not gonna happen, or sorry, the Sorcerer Supreme comes over, and she's like, dude, this is an absolute point in time. You cannot mess with this. This has to happen no matter what. There's no way to change this. And he's like, that's not true. She's like, Steven, stop tormenting yourself. She's like, you can't change this. And he's like, libraries have been destroyed. He's like, pages have been lost. He's like, you don't know that that's not possible. And she's like, dude, she's like, you gotta let it go, man. And so he's like messing around with it, and he finds out that like he has to get powers from like other creatures. And so it's really cool because the books are going all around him, and he goes into the library, and they're like, how long are you gonna be in there? And he's like, as long as it takes. And it's really sweet, his devotion to Christine, but that kind of ends up being his downfall at the end. We'll talk about that, but yeah, he's looking it up, and so he gets all these creatures. He's like, let's start small. There's a great scene where he's like got the like the ring on the floor, and he's just like conjuring these little like, I guess these creatures that have like these different powers, and it's terrifying because he like sucks them in through his eyes and his mouth, and I'm like, Jesus, Doctor Strange, like, but obviously like, well, I don't want to spoil anything yet, but he sucks in the powers, he gets the powers. It's creepy looking, but it's like this montage of him starting small and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he initially summons like the octopus thing, and I'm like, is this the same creature from Guardians 2? At the beginning when it comes in through the hole and Baby Groot's dancing around. I'm like, I don't know. It seems like it's connected though, because it comes through a portal, and this one came through a portal. I don't know. It's kind of a weird choice, but that's basically, he builds himself up, and he's like gaining their power, so he's like shape shifting into them for a second. It's awesome visually, like remarkably remarkable. It's stunning. And so the Watcher is in the background, and guys, the Watcher is so cool. Watcher, one of my favorite characters in the MCU now. Like, he gets more involved at the end here, but he's like in the room, and I don't know if he's just talking to us or what's going on, but he's like, oh, he's going down the wrong path. And he's like, I could interfere, but he's like, his universe is not worth risking all the other universes. And I'm like, wow, dude. And then like Strange can almost hear him, because he's like, he looks over and he's like, hello, someone there? And I'm like, oh, dude, this is really cool. But the Watcher doesn't interfere, and then we find out eventually that there are two Stephen Stranges in this universe, and their powers will like split apart. So we have an evil Doctor Strange, or the Sorcerer Supreme Strange, and then like our MCU canon Doctor Strange, pretty much, or like the good guy Doctor Strange. This is cool because I missed the exact event where like their powers split in two, or what caused them. I think it was just him messing with time. I don't know, but eventually Sorcerer Supreme is like, well, he wasn't the only one in that universe or whatever. And so then we cut back to that scene where Wong is like, hey, I got the kettle going. He's like, come with me before you make something like reckless decision. And then this time Stephen Strange goes, you're right, enough like waiting in the past. And he puts the Eye of Agamotto down, and he walks away. And this is our good Stephen Strange. And then the Sorcerer Supreme, the world starts, he goes outside, and the world starts literally falling apart, or it's like ripping apart. It's really cool. It's like slimy. It's almost like some Death Stranding visuals there. And so he's like, what's going on? And there's like a blue light, and Sorcerer Supreme comes over, because there was a quick death scene earlier that I didn't talk about, where the Watcher is watching that as well. Really, really cool visually. And he's like, you're dead. And she's like, no, this is like an astral projection, whatever. And she's like, hey, just so you know, she's like, there's two Doctor Stranges. She's like, you know, your power split in two. And she's like, the only one that can stop Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange. And I'm a sucker for this, dude. I loved when Cap fought Cap in Endgame. That was super cool. That was America's ass. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know why. It's cheesy and it's overdone, but I love when you get a good version of a character and a bad version, and they fight each other. It's dumb because it shouldn't work, but I loved it. And so she's like, good Doctor Strange is like much more akin to what we're used to. And maybe it's because I just recently watched the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, where, spoilers, we get the like weird Doctor Strange, and he casts a spell to like make people forget that Peter is Spider-Man, but everyone's like, that's not Doctor Strange, he would never do that shit. And now I'm like, oh, is this Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange? Is this evil Doctor Strange? And now it's like, is What If gonna tie into that? I don't know, dude. There's a whole bunch of things that get me all excited about it, get me hot and bothered. Yeah, basically, dude, good Doctor Strange started learning the powers, or started studying up and how to beat this one. And then it's so cool because Wong, they're like doing the shit, like, you know the thing. They're casting the runes and everything. And then Wong, as he's like literally fabricating out of time or whatever, he's basically getting like snapped, but it's like way cooler because he's like gooping away. I don't even know how to describe it. He's like being, he's deteriorating like in time and space or whatever. Don't quote me on that. And so Wong grants him a protection spell on his face. And then he's like, oh, and then it's funny because like there's a portal that opens up, and he's like, oh, is that you? He's like, nope. And he's like, that's not good. He's like, nope. And then he starts falling down, and Wong's like, good luck. And Doctor Strange goes through this portal, and it's all trippy, dude. And it's like, oh god, it's Doctor Strange's visuals in the MCU are so amazing. And like I said, guys, this movie, Doctor Strange, amazing, 4K, incredible, dude. I want to like throw it on right now because it's so good. Don't sleep on Doctor Strange. So he falls into like this dark pit, and then he sees like in the shadows like all these creatures coming up, all the different demons that the evil Doctor Strange has summoned, and he goes over there and he's like, hey, we can save Christine, and Doctor Strange is like, no, you can't save Christine. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, guys. Sorcerer Supreme told Doctor Strange, like, you can save Christine, but this world is going to be destroyed. She's like, you can't, there's no way that you can save her and keep the world. The world, if you save her, the world's going to be just gone. Which is what we're seeing, obviously, because evil Doctor Strange is trying to save her, and so the world is already falling apart, or it's going deteriorating. I don't even know. I'm running out of words, guys. And so good Doctor Strange, who talked to Sorcerer Supreme, is like, hey, we can't do this. And he's like, no, we can save Christine. He's like, we can do it together. And good Doctor Strange is like, no, dude. He's like, you don't get it. We can't do this. And so we get this amazing, amazing fight, dude. Also, I want to point out, evil Doctor Strange gets his cape from summoning like a random evil like frog or some creature, and then he's like, oh, and he like takes the cape, and then he like sends, or he's like, oh, and I draw the line of bugs, and he like throws the bug down there. That's how he gets like his, it's not like a red cape like good Doctor Strange, it's like purple and it's got designs on it. It's really cool. I just thought that was an awesome moment there. So we get Doctor Strange versus evil Doctor Strange or Sorcerer Supreme fight. It's really awesome. Evil Doctor Strange tried sucking like the powers from Doctor Strange, and that's when Wong's spell protects him. And I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on the recap, but I can already feel myself just talking about it for a while. But yeah, dude, amazing fight. I can't recap all of it, but you know, they're throwing powers at each other. The capes get in a fight where Doctor Strange's cape and the evil Doctor Strange's cape like start wrestling each other, and then like evil Doctor Strange gets like the ropes or the chains around good Doctor Strange, and he's like on the ground, and he's like, and Wong's spell is protecting him, but it's like slowly melting off, and so the cape is trying to get back to him, and then like the good cape goes over to evil Doctor Strange's hands and it like wraps him up, and he's like, and then it's amazing, dude. They're flying around, the visual effects are awesome. Doctor Strange is falling without his cape, and he like makes a portal so he shows up on the other side, and then he's like ready. Dude, it's so cool. It's visually amazing. And basically they end up getting a fight. I think evil Doctor Strange ends up actually consuming good Doctor Strange, and then but he's getting all like deformed and warped now, and so he's eventually able to save Christine. And so Christine comes back, where it's really cool because he like it shows the car, and then he like almost like Tony Stark when he does the thing, he brings the car up there, and then like it's like her, almost like her ghost or her like projection, and she's like waiting on the car, and he like separates the car and then like brings her over, and then like basically like puts the life back in her, and he saves Christine, but the world is just going to shit, dude. The world is crumbling all around him. And then he's like, Christine, I saved you, but he's like Hunchback of Notre Dame, dude. He's like all deformed. He's got horns sticking out. He's like bigger. And she wakes up and she's like, oh my god. She's like, what? Who are you? What is this? She's like afraid, dude, because he's like a monster now. And then he's like, Christine, I saved you. And she's like, I don't even know who you are. So she's like, you know, scurrying back, and there's a cliff there, and she's like gonna fall off. I'm like, oh my god. It's like it's like that scene in Endgame, dude, or I guess it's in Infinity War, where it's like, what did it cost you? Everything. It's like, it's crazy, dude. So Christine, he finally saves Christine, but the world is shit. Everything's blowing up. He's deformed now, and then he's able to like change back into like Steven, and then she's like, oh, Steven? And I'm like, it's crazy because they get on like a floating rock or whatever, or like there's like lava below and shit, and they go up, and the Watcher is there, and this is awesome because Sorcerer Supreme starts like using his powers, so he's like pushing back the debris that's falling and stuff, but it's so obvious that he can't control it, and the Watcher comes in, and he's like in there basically, and then Sorcerer Supreme turns to him, and he's like, he's like, I know, I've heard about you. He's like, you're a god. He's like, you're the only one that can save this. And it's like really cool because this is the first time someone's acknowledged the Watcher. And so the Watcher is like, look, I can't interfere. He's like, I forget what he says, but he's basically like, this is you problem. It's basically like that scene in fucking Spider-Man where Toby lets the guy go that ends up killing Uncle Ben, R.I.P., where he says, I missed the part where that's my problem. That's what the Watcher does right here, dude, where he's like, please, he's like, you can do it. But there's a weird line where Sorcerer Doctor Strange says, I didn't know this was going to happen, I'm sorry. And it's so sad because you can tell he's like, I don't know if it's the good Doctor Strange in him that's telling him that, but, or like trying to fight back, but he is like, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. But he says like, I didn't know that was going to happen. I'm like, bro, good Doctor Strange told you that was going to happen, okay? But you didn't want to listen because you were so obsessed with bringing Christine back that you didn't think that you would bring her back to a shit world that wouldn't exist, even though good Doctor Strange told you that. So it's so crazy because apparently the Watcher is like a god and he has these powers and he can like reverse anything, but he's like, no, because he's like, you can fix this, and he's like, yep, peace. He's like that kid that does the meme where he does the thing and then he disappears. But it's like heartbreaking, dude, because the Watcher, like, there's almost like a bubble, it's almost like where he can like go into the world or not go into the world, and the Watcher just like slowly fades back, and then like the world just goes in, and Doctor Strange is getting so sad, and then Christine like fades away, and he's like, I'm so sorry, and I think it cuts to black, and that's pretty much how it ends. But it's like, wow, dude. Okay, guys, strongest character for this one. This feels kind of like a cop-out, but I'm going to go Doctor Strange. I guess both versions. It just reminded me, I'm so glad they got Benedict Cumberbatch back for this, because, and Wong and Rachel McAdams, because in Sorcerer Supreme, because it felt like I said, this was the closest to the Doctor Strange movie, where like this felt the closest to the MCU, where I felt like this was just an extension of that story, and like I'm like, this could be a movie, like this. Like it was animation, it was beautiful animation, like shout out to everyone who did that, it looked incredible. But in my head, I was like it was almost like in my mind's eye, I was like viewing the live action version, because they had the same actors, and you know, they did a great enough job with the animation where like everything was moving around, and like I was watching the animation, but it was almost like you were kind of almost watching like a live version in your head too. I don't know if that makes any sense, guys, but hopefully someone else out there like thought that too. But what I'm saying is that like it's not just like another cartoon. It's like you can understand, you can see all this happening, and how they would direct it and all that shit. But maybe that's just me. But yeah, Doctor Strange, dude, he's just an awesome character. I was so happy to be back with Benedict Cumberbatch. I was so happy to be back in that world, and he's just so charming. I think he's just like a great actor, dude. And I just love how he's like quippy and super intelligent, and I love how good Doctor Strange is like really like, I can't do this by the book, like the Doctor Strange we've known to love. And I love that we got this evil Doctor Strange where he was just like, I will do whatever it takes to get Christine back. And it's crazy. And then like the fact that good Doctor Strange has to be like, dude, we can't save Christine, like, because it's so sad, because the Doctor Stranges are talking, and he's like, we love her, we love Christine, and he's like, they don't know who she is. And I was like, oh my god, dude, that's so sad. And Doctor Strange is like, I know we love her, but like we can't, like, you have to understand, dude, we can't do this because it's going to crumble the universe. Like, it's crazy. But I just thought Doctor Strange obviously was centered around this episode, and it was just so awesome. And I love Doctor Strange, dude. And Doctor Strange 2 is going to be nuts, and just the visuals were incredible. And I'm kind of doing like an overall recap, but for the strongest character, I think loved Benedict Cumberbatch. There was a small cast in this one, but I absolutely loved Benedict Cumberbatch back, playing not only as the evil Doctor Strange, but the good Doctor Strange, and it shows his acting chops, where they can have a scene where he's literally voicing both parts, and it feels like two different characters. So shout out to them for getting them back, and I just thought he was the best character in this one. Okay, guys, the weakest character for this one, this was tough, because I thought everyone did a very good job, but the one I would say was just kind of weird to me was when Doctor Strange goes to see like the sorcerer that's there or whatever, and he calls him Sorcerer Armani, and he's like, that's not my name. He's like, it's just a suit, because he's like, you're the weirdest sorcerer I've ever seen. That guy wasn't bad, he was just my least likable character of them. So I guess it's like and I also was like kind of wondering, like, what is your purpose? That was like the guy that showed up in, like, he goes in the bamboo forest or whatever, and he's like, hello, I'm looking for like this old sorcerer or whatever, and he's like, oh, follow me. And then he was like, are you him? But then he wasn't him. I don't know, that was confusing. But that guy's character, I'll edit it in here. I just thought he wasn't necessarily bad. Like I said, it's just that Wong was phenomenal. Christine was phenomenal. And then Doctor Strange was phenomenal. Sorcerer Supreme was really good. So everyone else was so good that I just by default I kind of have to pick this guy as my least favorite character. But I just didn't really. He's one part of the story I think didn't fit in much. But yeah, he gets my weakest character for this one. Okay, guys, if you haven't guessed it now, the score, it's a 1,000 out of 10, dude. It's a 10 out of 10. It's, like I said, one of the greatest 33 minutes of television, movies, anything that I've watched, well spent. Like, remarkable, stunning, beautiful, action-packed, emotional, powerful, heartbreaking, whatever you want to say, dude. This was... Episodes 1 through 3, like I said, were okay to above average, I would say. Episode 4 is one of the best things the MCU has ever created, and it may be the best thing that they've ever created, in my opinion. It's just absolutely, like I said, it's remarkable, guys. I'm stunned. It's unbelievably good. It was so good. It hit on all the levels, dude. The visuals were out of this world. I mean, I can't even imagine how much time went into that. I was almost thinking, like, what if they had started with this episode? Would people be so hooked? I think people are hooked anyway. Like, Marvel fans are probably watching this anyway. But it's just, like, this is, like, not even a level above. This is, like, 3 levels above the other episodes. And to me, the other stories felt like one-offs. This, to me, felt like canon. I was like, now, in my head, this happened in the MCU. Like, Doctor Strange 2 or whatever, like, when we see him in No Way Home, I'm going to have these events in my head where I'm like, man, Doctor Strange has been through some shit. Whether they tied into or not, they say it's all canon, but it's also different reality. I mean, now that the multiverse is open, guys, it's like, there's like 1,000 different Doctor Stranges, and so this one could suffer, this one could be great. You know what I mean? But to me, I'm like, wow, I'm going to see Doctor Strange differently now because of the events that happened in this episode, because I'm like, wow, like, you hurt for him, dude. And it's like, it's crazy where in the original movie... Once again, Doctor Strange loses his hands because he's being selfish and because he's being cocky and because he's not appreciating Rachel. Not Rachel. He's not appreciating Christine, and it's just like you still feel bad for him, but he's so sad. Like, it's his own fault. In this one, it's like he's just out for a drive with Christine. They're like seemingly getting along great. They're in love. It's really, really sweet. And in a horrible car accident, whether it was like a drunk driver or a crazy driver or whatever happened, hit them, and it changed his whole life. And he lost his heart, like the episode says. So I just think it's a phenomenal story. The action, the visuals, the writing, everything, dude. It was just, I was blown away. And so it is 100% a 10 out of 10 for this one. Okay, guys, that's it. That's another episode of Marvel Madness. Safe to say I'm a lot more excited now. I've looked forward to each episode, but I'm kind of like, okay, I mentioned in the first review, guys, I was getting used to the style, and then the second episode I loved. Last episode that was the worst one, so for them to bounce back with, I think, the best one by far was awesome. I'm now way more excited for the rest. And so, yeah, it's just, guys, Marvel has got me, dude. So, yeah, thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It really does help me out. We're a small channel, but we are growing. Like Doctor Strange's heart grew 3 times that day when he saved Christine, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's all right, guys. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys. Until next time, guys, goodbye.